Should be the last play from scrimmage here. The Bears are in the huddle for a while. They just want to run the clock out. They're going to take their 7th straight loss, drop to 4-9. Thomas Brown is the interim head coach, took over 10 days ago, and they're going to lose his debut, but they were much better in the second half. Pistol run. Bajan hands off to Evans, gets wide. Nick McLeod played a lot of nickelback snaps last week in Buffalo on 1st and 2nd down. He'll make the tackle, and that should be the game. Chicago's walking off from their sideline. This will end. 49ers will win it 38-13. So with the Niner win, they are 6-7, but the Rams, with a win of the weekend, one of them beat Buffalo or ahead on Buffalo. So they're going to go to 7-6. Arizona will fall to 6-7 as we get the final foghorn.
As a final call there from Levi Stadium, where the Niners have beaten the Chicago Bears 38-13. They moved to 6-7 on the season and still an outside chance at the NFC West, though they will still need some help after the Rams had a huge win today, 44-42 over the Buffalo Bills, and Seattle took down Arizona today, so they're now 2 games clear at the top of the division. Niners get the Rams on Thursday, but lots to talk about in this one. Adam Copeland, Super Bowl champion Dennis Brown, John Dickinson will join us momentarily here at Levi Stadium as he's down in the locker room talking to players, and was there for the post-game presser for Kyle Shanahan. But a lot to talk about in terms of Ike Guerrero, 15 carries, 78 yards, over 5 a carry, 2 touchdowns on the ground, had a nice catch, a couple of nice ones out of the backfield for a total of 50 yards. George Kittle, a monster day, over 100 yards receiving in the first half. He goes 6 catches for 151. A big day for Juwan Jennings. Deebo Samuel, still much to be desired. But the 49ers defensive line without Nick Bosa showed life for the first time, I'd say, since the final drive against Seattle. And then, of course, in Green Bay and Buffalo, they ran into problems in trying to get to the quarterback. They got to the quarterback today. They created some mistakes. Yes. They forced a turnover on that fumble there. That was a huge one. And Kyle Shanahan landed a couple of challenges there that helped turn this one around. What'd you see in this one, Dennis? And how you feeling after, 24-0 at the half? And then I don't think it got dicey, but I do think you and I were both thinking at one point in the second half, are they not going to move the football, and are they going to allow the Bears to continue to move the ball on them?
Yeah, I mean, in the first half, I mean, the Bears probably had, 1 first down? I mean, they were 3 and outs. The 49ers control the ball, control the game the entire first half, and then you come out in the second half, and you go right down the field. I'm busted coverages, wide open, touchdown, then you get the ball again, or the Bears get the ball again, they go right down the field, and then there's that fumble, the ball falls out of Caleb Williams' hand. Then it kind of changes momentum a little bit. But I saw a complete game. I mean, offense was efficient. Some of the big-time guys, they show up. You talked about Deebo. I mean, he had some good plays, but George Kittle has a monster day. Juwan Jennings has a monster day. And then the rookie comes in, Guerrero, and he runs well. Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, he's injured now, but he runs well. Yeah. And you saw him catch that ball down the side, looking like, I don't want to say it, but a CMC. I mean, that was that play, those explosive plays, and something we had not seen, right? The explosive plays. And I think in the first half.
They had 5 in the first quarter, Dennis. I don't know if they had 5 in a game.
Yeah, we haven't seen that. So it was good to see that. I mean, this is a Chicago team that's got a lot of really good things on this team. They're still trying to put it together. But, you go out and do what you're supposed to do, right? You win games. And the goal is now you have to win the game. You have to win out if you want to have a chance to play in the postseason. So that's the first step. You go out and you do it, and you don't win it in a close game. You go out and you kind of shut down a football team. After those first 2 series in the second half, and then you take over again, and you have some really nice plays. And like I said, some of the veterans really showed up today. Offensive line, even though you're beat up, you play well. You have a rookie in Guerrero that plays really well, and your defensive front, you tackle the ball carrier. And you get after the quarterback. I mean, going into this football game, we knew Caleb was going to be a guy that holds the football. And that's what he did. There was a lot of times he could have got the ball out, but he didn't. And then, 6 sacks total. First half, it was probably 5 sacks. So I think all around it was a good football game for the 40, and they needed it. 3 games, they needed this bad.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people will look at this and go, well, the Bears are who we thought they were. They're not a good team. And the Niners handled a bad team in a way that they should handle a bad team, in a way that they have not handled bad teams all year. I believe it's just the 3rd time this season they scored 30 points in a game. Opening night against the Jets, they did it against the Patriots. They really struggled, only 37 points over the last 3 games. They put up 38 here today. And maybe the most glaring stat when you look at the team stats for the Niners today could be yardage. They've, of course, outgained them 452 to 162, so nearly 400 yards, 390 more yards, and they ran only 9 more plays. That's 7.5 yards per play. But the one that stands out to me, 6 red zone trips today for the Niners, 5 scores in the 6 red zone opportunities, and had an opportunity there on the Brock Purdy sort of punch in there. They got the holding penalty, pulled back, and they end up kicking a field goal there. But we'll make that the stat of the game, sponsored by Poppy Bank, located throughout California. Poppy Bank is here to help you hit your financial goals. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. 4th down, they go 2 for 2, so some aggression today from Kyle Shanahan. I think people were happy to see that, see him go for it on 4th down a couple of times. They picked up both of those, 6 for 12 on 3rd down. And again, all phases of the game, they looked pretty good today. They played clean football. They did not turn it over. A couple of scary moments. Brock took a big hit at one point, left the game. But he gets snapped in half, dude.
Yeah,
Look, his forehead might have touched his ass when they bent him over backwards. It was pretty crazy. But he left for a couple of plays, came right back in. But just an all-around good game for the Niners, and it's what you want to see. You don't want to play down to the level of your opponent. You want to beat bad teams in the way you're supposed to. This is the most, I think, probably since opening night, most complete win the Niners have had.
Yeah, and you hit it right on the head. I mean, just efficient on offense and on defense. And you know, we talked about before the game, defense setting the tone, and I think that's what they did. I mean, in the first half, I think going into halftime, the Chicago Bears were negative yardage. You know that's what you're supposed to. And you get off the field on 3rd down. A lot of those sacks in the first half were on 3rd downs, right?
Yeah.
So you are getting after the passer on the money down, 3rd down, and get off the football field. And on offense, you put points on the board. You know, I mean, and you do it and you make it in the red zone and you make it look easy. I mean, even that, the touchdown that was called back for the penalty, both Garindo and Purdy scored on that touchdown play. So, I mean, you're efficient in the red zone. You put points on the board, and then you special teams, you make the kicks, and, there's no penalties on kickoff or punts and things. All facets of the game. I mean, you play against a team that's not very good. This is exactly what you're supposed to do.
They run for 3 touchdowns. Kyle Shanahan is a big fan of. They carried the ball a whole bunch of times in this one. Brock Purdy was fantastic. I think he started 8 of 9 in the first quarter. Juwan Jennings, a big game, 2 touchdown receptions for him on 7 catches and 90 yards. Brock was very accurate, 20 of 25, 325 and 2 touchdowns. So all that talk this past week about you can't pay Brock Purdy, again, he's still got this ability in there. And for people who say he's got to have the weapons around him, you got to have a complete football team to move the ball. You had a run game today in Ike Garindo. You had a passing game today, and you protected Brock. Brock was I thought, pretty well protected. And on some of the throws he made, he hung in the pocket, Dennis. You just talked about that one where he hit Garindo over the shoulder there, down in the corner, and comes up just short of the touchdown before he punches it in on the 1-yarder. Brock took a hit on that. He threw that on his back foot and just sort of lobbed it up there. A couple of short throws from Brock today, though. He had one to Juwan Jennings deep down the right sideline that would have been a touchdown, and he hit him in stride. Juwan had to sort of come back and grab it. But all in all, I'd say this is the most complete game we've seen the Niners play, even without the health, since week 1. John Dickinson joins us here, fresh out of the Kyle Shanahan postgame presser and the 49er locker room. Different vibe down there today, huh, JD?
Yeah, different vibe. 49ers got it done from the jump in this one, and just, fast start. It's what we've been discussing and hoping that they would be able to bring to the table for weeks on weeks on weeks. And today they actually did it. I mean, they won this game by getting off to the quick start. And to me, the offense, I thought, set the tone as they go down immediately and score a touchdown. It's explosive plays. I mean, 8 explosives in the first half of this game. You come out, Purdy to Garindo for 23, Purdy with the screen pass to Kittle for 33. I mean, they're hitting Debo for 20. I mean, it was just explosive after explosive after explosive. And you see a defense able to function at a greater level, playing from ahead and able to get to the quarterback, a team that's been vulnerable at allowing sacks, a quarterback that's been vulnerable to maybe hanging onto the rock a little bit too long. You put him behind the 8 ball early, and now all of a sudden your Turgos Matos is getting home, and Leonard Floyd's getting home, and Malik Collins is getting home. And it just set up the 49ers to play this thing from a position of advantage. The balance was there. The rhythm was there. All in all, a great win. It keeps them alive, at least for another 3 days here. But quality win.
415-808-KNBR, 808-5627 is the number to call if you want to get involved in the conversation. 49ers beat the Chicago Bears 38-13. They run for 3 touchdowns. Brock throws for 2 touchdowns. This was a dominant game. The defensive line owned the offensive line of the Chicago Bears. 7 more sacks. Now Caleb Williams up to 56 sacks on the season. It's only 20 away from tying David Carr. Maybe we'll get a compilation video on YouTube like the one that JD found earlier. A 14-minute video of every sack of David Carr in his rookie season.
What's the record?
In his 76.
Oh, that's a lot.
That's a lot of sacks, dude. That's a lot of sacks. He's getting pinned to the turf, dude. Just peeling himself off he became a paste back there in the backfield. We'll get more from Larry Krueger, who's going to join us in a little while as well, and we'll hear from Kyle Shanahan what he had to say after the game. The one thing that does stand out here, and you heard Papa mention it, and Dennis just did, Ike Guerrero, a foot sprain, so now we're dealing with another injury to another running back.
Yeah, and I will just report on that. I mean, Guerrero said that was more cautious than anything, the fact that they took him out when they did, that he said he feels fine, although I guess there is going to be an MRI that he's going to undergo just to be sure on that. But he did speak at his locker. It wasn't, hey, injured player doesn't have to speak. And he said that them taking him out of the game when they did was more precautionary than anything with the quick turnaround to the game on Thursday.
Can we just take his word for it? We have to do the MRI? Let's get him back out there.
Well, I would love to take his word for it, but then you also see the MRI, and it's we'll find out when we see the MRI.
We'll take a quick break here. 808 KNBR. How we feeling? Seattle wins today, so they're first place in the division. They're holding on to now a 2-game lead, clear of the 49ers, clear of the Rams right now, who got a win over Buffalo at home, 44-42. Buffalo 21 fourth-quarter points, but the Rams were just too much today. Puka Nacua, huge day. Kyron Williams found the end zone as well. So we'll talk more about where the 49ers stand and what's your level of confidence. Did this change anything for you, 49er fans? 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627 is the number to call. We got more to come. It's the 49ers over the Chicago Bears, only here on the Sports Leader.
Yeah, I mean, we just got back to being us, honestly. the product we were putting on the field the last couple of weeks just wasn't us. We knew that. We had a great opportunity this week to come out at home and right those wrongs, right, and get back to playing our style and doing what we do best. Complementary football all the way through. The way the offense came out and scored right away, and then we went out there on defense and got those stops early on and played, a great half of football. Obviously, there's things to clean up in that second half, but we just got to build on this win.
That's the voice of Fred Warner, who was playing with his hair on fire today, all over the field, specifically in the first half. I mean, he was playing great. The 49ers swarmed today. They tackled well. I think that's something that stood out to me today, especially in the first half. They got to ball carriers quickly. D. Winters had a couple of nice tackles on some special teams plays where it looked like maybe somebody could have shot a hole there, and he was able to wrap the returner up. Fred Warner did a great job of that. I mean, really nothing on the ground today for the Chicago Bears, but they have 21 total carries and really couldn't get anything going. DeAndre Swift, 38 total yards. He had 27 from Williams and then 3 more from Evans, and that was it. The Niners ran all over him in this one as they win 38-13. Let's get you the difference maker of the game, sponsored by Benjamin Moore Paints. Experience the Benjamin Moore retail difference at our independently owned authorized retailers today or at benjaminmoore.com, and sponsored by Abundant Life Weight Loss. Call 925-594-7110 to start your journey today. Or if you're Thomas Brown, you can just become head coach of a team and you can drop 20 pounds that way. That's what he was talking about since he became the offensive coordinator. Started bleeding weight, he was talking about.
He's going to lose a whole lot more weight this week.
No dead cat bounce today for the Bears. Difference maker of the game. Who would you say was the biggest difference maker? I mean, first and foremost, you can go defensive line. You could go Garendo, helping establish the run game. You could go George Kittle. Who do you like as the difference maker key in this one, Dennis?
I'm going to say Garendo. I mean, the vets did show up today. Like I said, Juwan Jennings and George Kittle. But for a rookie to come in, a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure because this offense is kind of predicated on the run game. And he went out and he ran. I mean, he ran well. I mean, he was able to find he was going upfield, pads down. He was getting those yards. So, you got to give it to the rookie when you come in, because of an injury and you come in, you're third on the depth chart? And you come in and you do what did he have 100 yards? He had like 80 yards?
He had a total of 98 yards, I think.
So,
more than that. He had over 100 from scrimmage, 138.
Yeah, 78 rushing and then another 50.
Yeah,
so
to be a rookie and come in and do that and contribute like that, he's got to be and like I said, that sets up everything else down the field.
JD, who you got for this one?
I'd go Kittle. 6 catches on 6 targets, 151 yards. Kittle got the yards. Jennings got the touchdowns in this one. 7 receptions for Jennings, and 90 yards. So being able to punch it in and get into the end zone, I thought was huge. And Jennings' ability to get open and to have the how about play action pass on 1st and goal from the 7?
Yeah.
How about a screen pass that goes to Kittle for 33 yards in that first series to put the 49ers up 7-0? Things that hadn't been working for this team offensively suddenly were working, or things that they hadn't been doing suddenly they were doing in this game when it comes to the play action game and also the screen game. Hadn't been effective when they tried it, hadn't really tried it a lot. So I'm going to give it to Kittle for the yards and the targets, but I think you could just as easily, if you wanted to, Copes, take Jennings for getting into the end zone.
That's where I'll go. I'm going to go Juwan Jennings because I think it's worth noting. You pointed out the 8 explosives. Was that the first half you talked about? They had 5 in the first quarter explosives. And you and I think after the 5th one, I looked over at you and I was like, is that 5 plays of over 20 yards? So explosives go for runs that go for longer than 10. And receptions or passes that go for over 20. They had 5 in the first quarter. They were able to build a nice lead. But what Juwan Jennings has done different than that of Deebo Samuel is he's consistently found his way to get open. He's consistently been able to make big plays downfield. There was even one that got tipped up into the air at one point. Could have been an interception, and Jennings came down with it after Purdy got hit as he threw it and it got batted into the air. But Deebo Samuel, you pointed out the 20-yard catch that he had early in the game, one of the first explosives on that first drive, and it was into a tight window, too. Made a nice grab on that. After that, only one more catch for 2 yards. He had 5 catches or 5 carries in the day for just 13 yards. It should come as no surprise, or I would be surprised if anybody did not think Juwan Jennings was the best receiver on this team. I mean, Ayuk's not going to be back at the start of next year, and it's pretty clear Juwan Jennings has taken over as the number 1 guy in terms of receiving targets. Deebo's not getting open. He's not downfield in the same way. Jennings had a nice 39-yard grab up the right sideline that I was saying to Dennis. Could have been a 3rd touchdown had Brock not underthrown him. Could have walked his way into the end zone, had his man beat. But I think Jennings is not just a difference maker in this one. He is a absolute weapon for Brock Purdy. They clearly have some chemistry here, and they're going to have to figure out a way to keep this guy in-house because they've already paid one receiver. Then they paid Debo again, $25 million. That's what he's making this year. Jennings, to me, is one of the biggest difference makers on the team.
And thankfully, they're in front of him for one more year because they had already signed him. Otherwise, they'd be in big trouble. But he's moved into that number one role, and I think it sets him up well for next year because they do still have him and Debo if they want to keep Debo. And then Ricky Pearsall can be somebody that plays the slot until Ayuk is able to come back. And obviously they're going to need more production from Pearsall, but it gives him at least 3 different type skill set receivers to go into the year with. You complement it around that, and then you get Ayuk back at some point.
Yeah, and Pearsall had an opportunity to have a big play. I don't know if you saw it, but it was like a post route, and like he kind of stopped running. I think it was maybe the third quarter. He could have had it would have been a wide open throw. It kind of looked like Brock Purdy missed him, but I think he just kind of stopped running. But I mean, he's going to have to develop as a receiver to become the number one guy. But right now, you see Jennings is being targeted first downs, second downs now. He's no longer third in Jennings. I mean, he's first and second down as far as a possession receiver. So, I mean, he is really taken advantage of his situation he's in right now, and he sets himself up really well.
415-808-5627. 808-KNBR is that number to call. Niners over the Bears 38-13. Do we feel like this is a change in the tide for the Niners? We keep saying you got to see something we haven't seen yet. I'd say this game was something we hadn't seen yet this year. Would you guys agree with that?
100%. And the other budding storyline off of this one from the locker room is the discussion of, and we'll get with a couple of guys from the podium, George Kittle, it sounds like, is addressing it. Juwan Jennings referenced it. Others, the fact that there was the team meeting last night and with a different tone and players standing up and speaking to the urgency and the need for things to be different. A little bit more of a desperate feel. So as some of that audio starts to trickle in here from the locker room, I think there was sort of a last stand theme to the team meeting last night here with 5 games to go and now with 4 games to go.
We got a lot of veterans there that should be speaking up about what this team is capable of and what they should
Kittle,
be doing.
Lenore, Fred, I believe, like guys
that were healthy
really
that were going to be out there and spoke up to making this thing happen. When that happens, when a group of guys like that, vets like that, high-paid players, and
take note.
Yeah,
I mean, you take note. I mean, sometimes it doesn't have to be a coach being fired or position coach being fired. It's just some of your leadership saying, hey, you know, everyone's accountable now. I mean, we're professional athletes, and especially being around here. I mean, there's so many guys around here who have done it for many years, and we talk about 49 away and all these things. You know what the expectation is, and you know if you're falling, you know, below that expectation. And it takes some of these veteran players to let them understand. Some of these young guys understand that this is not just we got lucky and every once in a while we'll win a game, that we're expected to win football games. So everyone has to check themselves because everybody's being evaluated, not only by the coaches, but by players, by your own, you know, folks who line up with you, who go into battle with you. They're checking you too, and you got to be accountable to them. So I love hearing that actually went down at the hotel or at the locker room or wherever it might be. But you know, leadership has to stand up now. These last 4, I mean, you got to stand up. You got to check people right now.
Yeah. Again, Deebo Samuel not performing, but basically everybody else on the roster getting it done. 808-KNBR, 415-808-5627 is the number to call. Has any of this changed your perspective about the Niners' potential road to the playoffs? JD made a case before the game saying, hey, you could really go out and win the next 3 games and then see where you stand at over 500 at 8-7 when you get the Monday night game in here against the Detroit Lions. Who obviously a much more difficult game than this one was. But as AJ Cruz checks in on our YouTube chat, we are streaming on YouTube, Twitch, KNBR.com, the KNBR app. AJ says this was it was a good win against a bad team. You're supposed to have performances like this. Nothing has changed. We're still trailing in the division, and I think we're running out of road to make the playoffs. It's what I was saying to you before about, yes, it would be intellectually fraudulent to say that they are in the playoff hunt just because they're mathematically in it, because there are many teams ahead of them. They're not really a wild card option, and they're going to need some help. They did what they needed to do today. They got no help. The Seahawks went out and won. They hammered the Arizona Cardinals, and the Rams helped themselves out beating the Buffalo Bills. There's another common opponent for you, too. So the game on Thursday, just a much more, as big, if not bigger, than what we thought it would be entering this one. We got more to come. Adam Copeland, Super Bowl champ Dennis Brown, John Dickinson with you. 808 KNBR is the number to call. We'll check in with Larry Krueger momentarily. And then we'll also get you protecting the quarterback. They did a good job with that for Brock Purdy. The Bears did not do a good job of that for Caleb Williams. More to come only here on the Sports Leader.
I mean, we said some things, just, I was just trying to keep it real and remind guys, this isn't easy. This job isn't for everybody, but who we have in this building, we have what it takes. And we've shown that the last couple of years, and we just got to dig deep and find ourselves. And I think we did. I think guys responded to it, and really I was just talking to myself too, not just trying to preach to the guys, but remind myself of how hard this thing is and how much of a competitor you got to be for 4 quarters and go and take it. Nothing's ever given to you. So it was just a reminder to myself and to our teammates of where we're at and where we're trying to go. And a lot of other guys, or some other guys spoke, and I think we all feel it, man. We want to win for each other at this point. So.
As the voice of Brock Purdy, 49ers quarterback, had a big day, 325 yards passing on 25 pass attempts, 20 of 25, 325, 2 touchdowns. And, yeah, I think Brock's going to get some money this offseason. I know that game last week and the game the week before in Green Bay had turned some people off of what's going on. But everybody's saying Brock needs help around him. Well, You got some help today. Guys like George Kittle, big today. Juwan Jennings, another huge day, 7 for 90 and 2 touchdowns. And, of course, Ike Guerrero, 15 for 78. The guy Larry has been hyped on all season long, wanting to see some explosive plays from him. 8 explosives for the Niners in the first half. Larry, we were sitting there in the first quarter going, damn, man, this is like stuff we have not seen all season long.
I know. It was great to see, too. It's funny, though. You're always looking kind of like for the essence or the message or, what's special, what happened. A lot of questions today about the team meeting and who said what. I think George kind of put it best, guys, just now, about 5 minutes ago, where he said, we've played well this year. It's just we haven't really played on that edge. We haven't really gotten to that level of urgency. And I think it's really true. And Dennis, man, you could probably speak to this because you played in regular season games. You also played in high-profile, big games like Super Bowls and NFC Championship games. And I just kind of wonder maybe after a while playing in all those big games that – maybe it is a little bit more difficult to get it revved up in the regular season. Maybe it is a little bit more difficult to play on edge that you played at, in the playoffs when it's regular season ball. I'm not offering an excuse, but I did feel like they played with an urgency, a determination, a desperation, whatever you want to call it. I mean, their backs were against the wall, and it was fight or flight. And they decided to fight, and I'm glad to have seen it because I was afraid that they were just going to circle the drain, but instead they fought.
Yeah, and to speak on that, I mean, it's the mindset is interesting because Ronnie Lott used to always say you got to get in the game, you got to be in the game, and you got to get in the A gap, and you got to hit. So we always practice like that. So we always practice with that urgency because we had that leadership. And it was always, Ronnie used to always say, understand that it was a different team than this team right now, but he would always say that every team is going to play their best game against you. Every offensive lineman is going to play their best game against you because you are this organization. You are the 49ers, and the history behind it. So we always played with that urgency. And if we lost games, it got real tight in the locker room. Okay. And it's good to hear that these captains, these veterans are standing up and saying something, because I think that's what you need. That's what you need. I mean, I think athletes now are coached differently. There's no more, positive criticism or whatever it's called. I mean, it's just like, all right, will we play again next week? Sometimes you got to get somebody to get after you, and sometimes it has to be the leadership. You have to get after guys, and you have to play. That's how you get that edge. You start the edge on Monday after a Sunday game or Tuesday after a Monday night football game. You always have to play on that edge because this is the NFL. And everybody wants that big contract. Everybody wants to win a Super Bowl. So many guys who haven't been to a Super Bowl, they're trying to get there. They play on that edge. You can't get complacent about where you are and your record and who you come from and who you're about. And it was always like that. I remember practices being so intense. Michael Carter just going off on people. Charles Haley just going off on people. This is when we were winning football games. So you always have to play on the edge, and it's a mindset. You don't just put your pads on and show up and guys are going to lay down. Guys are going to play their best against you.
And sometimes it takes, unfortunately, getting embarrassed a couple of times, as the 49ers were, not only in Green Bay, but in Buffalo. I think the way they lost the game here before they went on that trip, the series of trips to Seattle, was embarrassing. The offensive output that they put on the field that day, and then to lose with Geno Smith walking them down late, I think that not up to their standard and embarrassing, having it been the third time that they'd lost a division game to each of their opponents. Unfortunately, it took to that point where they might have gotten, to a breaking point where it's too late, right? Like that was something that popped into my head a lot today, Larry, was, wow, great performance. This team's still capable of getting on a run. Also might be too late.
Might be too late. But, the one thing that does come out in the NFL in December is your character. Your good or bad character. If you're a team that has no character, then guys start pointing the fingers and guys start, looking for the easy way out. Everybody becomes about me. If you have a lot of character, you circle the wagons and you fire a big effort. I was just really encouraged to see that their leaders kind of spoke up, that they kind of held themselves, each one of themselves held each other accountable and themselves accountable. And they came out here, and this Bears team's rugged. And, yeah, they've lost 6 in a row, but they'd been playing better ball than the Niners. And the Niners had to go find something. And they came out and they found it. And hopefully they can carry it into Thursday night against the Rams.
And I just want to ask you, I mean, the second half, it was a different Chicago. I know they played better in the second half, but those first two series, I was getting worried because they went right down the field and it looked like 3 weeks ahead on those 3 games that they just played, where it was just right down the football field.
Dennis had some trauma. Yeah, Dennis had some trauma in the second half.
I mean, I was like, wait a minute, what is going on? And then you have the fumble, Caleb with the ball falling out of his hands, but they were going. I mean, I just wonder what happens there. Is that adjustments or, I mean, in your opinion? I think it's just not coming out ready to play. But it looked like that team that we saw for the last 3 weeks. Chicago came out and just right down the field, touchdown.
Only thing I saw just from watching it on the binocs, since we're here today, and you won't have to. We're not relying on the TV copies. I just felt like the Niners at the beginning of the third quarter, Dennis played a little deeper and may have given the Bears a little bit of room, like almost like a pre-snap suggestion. You're not going over the top. You want to drive the ball for 9-10 minutes down the field and maybe get a touchdown or a field goal. Okay, we'll play along, but I just felt like they were about 3 to 4 yards deeper as far as at the snap throughout much of that first drive and the Bears had in that long one in the third quarter.
Larry Krueger with us here after the Niners beat the Bears 38-13. Something that stands out, by the way, today, Niners 5 for 6 in red zone opportunities, 2 for 2 on fourth downs, which were huge today. 5 touchdowns scored today. Would they have 32 or something coming into the week? So he scored like basically a sixth of the amount of touchdowns you had in the game. On the season in today's game. They protected Brock exceptionally well. They sacked that one time. And we'll, by the way, make that the Protecting the Quarterback, sponsored by the Contra Costa County Office of the Sheriff. Protect your community and apply for a new career in law enforcement at cocosheriff.org today. And by Planet Orange, effective eco-friendly pest control. Larry, the D-line picking up 7 sacks on Caleb Williams today. That was huge. 7 is it's tough to say that could be repeatable. But is this more of a product of just a poor defensive or offensive line of the Bears? We've seen Caleb now get sacked 56 times on the season. It's how you should play against a team like this, which is encouraging, but can they repeat that?
Well, he's holding the ball a little long. Some of those sacks are on him. But, I mean, I thought the guy that really stood out in the first half to me was D. Winters, just how fast he was playing on that second level. He was flying all over the place.
Special teams, too. He made a big play.
Yeah, he made a huge play on special teams, a big thump, and he's fast. And I just felt like overall, the coverage was pretty tight. There weren't busted plays. There were explosives on offense. They limited the explosives on defense. And, it was just overall, I would say, good team victory. The best probably the cleanest special teams game of the year. Would you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
It was the most complete game of the season. I mean,
this one or the first one.
They had 7 penalties, but for like 31 total yards. I think it was only 2 penalties for the Bears, but for 30 yards or something like that. They were effective 50% on third down, 6 of 12. Effective in the red zone. They played great defense. They didn't make any mistakes. There weren't penalties that shot them in the foot. They took advantage of missed opportunities and turned the ball over.
They outgained the Bears 452 to 162 for the game.
390 more yards than the Bears.
And it was the first half was amazing.
319 to 4.
319 to 4, Dennis. 319.
14 first downs to 1.
Have you held the team to 4 yards?
No. I mean, a lot of it was the sacks, right? A lot of it was the sacks on that. But then, like I'm saying, you come out in the second half and you get more first downs in your first series, I think, than you had in the entire first half. So, that's the kind. I'm sure 49er fans were. I mean, at least I was looking at it, going, what's the mindset? What's the mindset? Now you got to duplicate the first half. You got to play 4 quarters. You got to duplicate the first half, and you got to go out and you got the Rams coming up, and you got to do that the entire football game. You can't let teams come back because they start believing and win football games.
Bosa's super special. They haven't had him. They may have him Thursday. Greenlaw's really special. He has yet to play. He may play Thursday. If this team can just keep playing with the pride that they showed today, and get a couple of these key components back, who knows? I mean, they just. You don't know what it's going to take to get to the playoffs. It probably is not going to happen. But you know what? More than anything, I don't want to see the 49ers embarrass themselves in December. I want to see them fight like the champion that they've been so many times.
By the way, Tim Webb, not happy with the special teams play today. Our producer here for 49er football, he said, don't forget Moody's 2 bad kicks on kickoffs.
There you go.
Gave the Bears good field position because he missed the landing zone.
There you go. That's true. That's true.
So another bad special teams game. They still have the demerit for the 49ers today after a 38-13 victory. We got an injury report for you. Larry, you want to kick it for another minute?
Sure.
Cool. Larry will hang here. Adam Copeland, Super Bowl champ Dennis Brown, John Dickinson, Larry Kruger with you. Niners hammer the Bears 38-13, and they play again on Thursday against the Rams, who put up 44 today in a 44-42 victory over the Buffalo Bills. We'll get you the injury report, and we'll talk about the road to a potential berth, even if they were to beat the Rams on Thursday. That's next on the Sports Leader.
I mean, I don't know why they come out, but I don't want to be any place in the world more than here. And my family feels just as strong, if not a lot stronger. So, I hope you guys are going to have to kick me out of here. So there's no way I'm making that decision.
49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan there after the Niners win 38-13 over the Chicago Bears. Adam Copeland, John Dickinson, the Super Bowl champ Dennis Brown, and Larry Kruger hanging out with you. Niners going to play again on Thursday. They're now 6-7. The Cardinals losing today was, would it have been better off had the Cardinals beaten Seattle today than to at least balance the division?
I think it would have.
Seattle going up 2 games is tough.
Yeah, I think it would have to even it out. The winner of that game has got a significant advantage, although the other wild card that nobody was thinking was going to happen today was the Rams beating Buffalo.
I mean, maybe you didn't listen to our segment on Friday where I told Derek I thought that was a trap game for the Bills after clinching a playoff berth coming west to see the Rams. And the Rams were up big in that game, by the way. Bills scored 21 in the fourth quarter. Puka Nacua, a huge game, caught a screen pass for a touchdown late, and the Bills still came back and scored another one, cut it to 2.
You were aligned with Bill Belichick because I was watching the ESPN show that Belichick's on with Ryan Clark, and he was like, I think the Bulls were vulnerable in this game, and that they could move the ball on them, and that their defense was vulnerable.
Seemed like a bad spot for the Bills, and they got ran out a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the Bills, the Niners ran on the Bills.
Bills are one of the worst at yards per carry against, like 30th in the league at nearly 5 yards a carry.
Yeah, 4.9 a carry is what they give up, and what happens is they'll play the 2 deep safeties and just refuse to give you any big explosives down the field. But then that burns them in the run game because they got the safeties not in the box, and they're not that great at stopping the run. So Buffalo is going to be interesting. Josh Allen is playing amazing, but they lose to the Rams. And if the Rams bring that offensive performance Thursday night, that's going to be a huge challenge.
Well, that's it. It's not just about what the Niners can do. If they can repeat this performance on Thursday, that would be fantastic, but you still need help because of the hole that you've dug yourself into. Let's talk about some of the injuries today, sponsored by Habas Law. They'll fight to make it right. Visit habaslaw.com and by Mike Council Plumbing. When you need plumbing, Larry, go green and think Mike Council Plumbing at mcplumbing.com. In terms of the injuries today, I don't have a full report in front of me. Ben Bartch left the game early with an ankle injury, and then he got carted off. He went into the tent and then got carted off. I did not return to the game.
He didn't come back. Spencer Burford ended up finishing the game for him.
Pretty well.
Isaac Guerrero was the other big injury with the foot, although Guerrero in the locker room said he didn't think it was a big thing, but he is getting an MRI, so we'll kind of wait and see.
What about Malik Mustafa? He left. He
came back.
He came back
relatively quickly.
Yeah, and then Brock, of course, went down. He said he felt some weird things, but
your head bends back, as I said, when your forehead touches the top of your ass crack. Like you're like, geez, did you start feeling tingly in your fingertips or something? I mean, I was more nervous when Brock went down like that. I think maybe everybody is. You're wondering what happens to the knees and the ankles and the feet there in that situation. You just want to make sure nothing got twisted up. But he only left for like a play, right?
Yeah,
play
he came right back.
They didn't even really check him for a concussion. Didn't look like it was that hard of a hit.
I think when stuff like that happens, you just you know your body's not go that way. Then you just kind of got to take a moment. Like, I'm good.
Yeah,
I think I'm good. I think I'm good now. Yeah.
I'm going to wait a minute.
Because that was an ugly hit. I mean, that was ugly.
It's not quite kicking Aikman in the head when you walk by him, Dennis, but some Dennis did apparently. I don't know.
His last concussion was my kneecap.
On a muddy day here at the stick.
That was it.
So has anything changed for you, Larry? Is anything different for? I mean, again, they need help, but is your outlook any better? Does this change anything? Because again, it feels good to win a game like this, and then you look at it and you go, well, they should win a game like this, but they haven't all year.
No, I mean, this was a huge win for the Niners. One, I think they found their edge. Two, all this talk about, well, Brock's not this and Brock's not that. Well, Brock just completed 80% of his passes for 325 yards and 2 touchdowns. So Brock that. But I would say more than anything, the big positive out of this is that Isaac Guerrero ran for 5.2 a carry. And that is how the Niners are going to win. They're going to win by running the ball a lot. They ran 34 times for 131 yards. It's only 3.9 a carry for the team, but 5.2 a carry for Guerrero. So I was really very pleased with Guerrero. He didn't fumble. He didn't have a lot of negative yardage. And yet he still showed that explosiveness. And then more than anything, I thought he caught the ball really, really well. Maybe the best in this game that I've seen him catch it all year. So I think Guerrero is a reasonable, reasonable replacement going forward. I think they can win with him.
They stay alive, which is the thing for me. I mean, if you don't win, we're talking about, all right, pack it in if you can't beat this Bears team today. And, with the game on Thursday, there is still the path. And I was playing around with this, and I don't want to bore you guys. There is a 4-way 9-8 scenario in the NFC West that exists. A 4-way tie where all 4 teams could end up 9-8. The 49ers would win the 4-way tie. Don't ask me why or how.
If it results in that, but based on head-to-head, because that would mean they'd have to beat Arizona. You'd probably take the loss to Detroit.
It would one loss, and I'm not going to put everybody to sleep with it.
It's finite, but yeah.
But it would be, yes, you have to beat the Cardinals. You have to beat the Rams. Obviously, the one loss would be to the Lions, but then it also gets very specific because the Cardinals still play the Rams in Week 17. The Cardinals would have to beat the Rams.
LA, right.
The Rams would have to beat the Seahawks when those 2 teams play. So everybody plays everybody the one more time with the 49ers still playing Seattle and Arizona at the end. But again, the realization of what the Rams did today, Dennis, and Seattle taking the hold of the top spot by beating Arizona is they're going to have to win out. In all likelihood, you went out, you got a shot, a legitimate shot, because these other teams are probably going to beat up each other. Maybe somebody slips up along the way, and you at least are playing for something come week 18. That's the realization. Yes, that other scenario exists, but it's not really realistic. It's basically you got to run the table. Yeah,
and you have to, take care of what's in front of you. And what's in front of you is, the Rams are coming on Thursday. Divisional game. And you got to beat. That's what you have to kind of focus on. It's each game. Everything else is going to happen. If you, like Larry said, if you just finish this year fighting, not losing games, not getting blown out, fighting, you have a little bit of pride in you. Your character's there. But if you go out, and I don't think this team has won back-to-back games.
Well, they did it once, but they had a bye week in between.
And we won the bye week.
Yeah, won the bye. So maybe 3 in a row, though.
Yeah. So, this team has to put, that's what great game today. Can you duplicate it? Can you win, 4 games in a row? Because we haven't seen 2 games in a row this season. So you got to keep that edge, that urgency, and you can't control the rest of the stuff. All you can control is what you got in front of you, and that's the Rams that are coming up. So you start preparing. I don't know how it works now with this team, but, if it's Monday, Tuesday, whatever it is, you got to prepare for the Rams. Rams coming off beating the Buffalo Bills. They're going to have a lot of confidence. It is a divisional game. They want to get to the playoffs just like you're trying to get to the playoffs. So that's all you can really concentrate on is the next game in front of you.
And my fear actually in the division race was if Arizona were to pull away because their schedule is favorable. And they've really kind of hit a rut in the last couple of weeks. Seattle has a much more difficult schedule. There's a chance still that Seattle could drop their next 2. If the Niners were to win this one and then beat Miami, they beat the Rams and beat Miami, they could at least make up those 2 games against Seattle. Their Packers go to Seattle on Sunday night next week, and then the Vikings go to Seattle the following week. Those are 2 playoff teams that are really, really difficult. Sam Darnold played a really good game today. Vikings ended up winning, actually much bigger than we thought it was, or than it looked like it would be in the fourth quarter against Atlanta. But there is a path. It's a small path, and as long as you keep winning, as JD said, you keep yourself alive.
Yeah, this is a proud franchise. This is an iconic franchise. The last 2 weeks have been thoroughly embarrassing to everybody, the fans, the owner, the coach, the alums, everybody. Nobody's felt good about watching the way the 49ers have lost the last couple of weeks. So they needed to come out today, fire a big shot, kind of reestablish their fight, reestablish their competitive fire. To me, the 2 big positives are the defense, really fired up front with no Bosa, and Guerrero looked like he could handle being in the spotlight. Huge steps forward. Huge encouragement for Thursday night because you're getting Dre Greenlaw back, and he's awesome. He is a tremendous player, and he's coming back with everything that he brings to the table. That will do nothing but help them. The one negative in this game that really gnaws at me is they cannot seem to get their first-round draft choice going in any real way. Pearsall, 1 catch for 5 yards with no Ayuk. If they're going to go to the playoffs, if they're going to have this big run down the stretch, they got to have Pearsall. Pearsall's got to contribute because of the absence of Ayuk and their predicament health-wise. So didn't happen last week, didn't happen this week. He's got to somehow surface, so they got to figure it out.
He's got like 6 yards in the last 4 games or something like that. Does Ricky Pearsall.
And maybe I'm a prisoner of the moment in this, but I just look at what the Rams did scoring against Buffalo, and I'm thinking, geez, like the 49er defense played better today, but the Bears have their own issues. The Rams are much more equipped to do what the Bills and the Packers and some of these other teams have done against the 49ers in terms of running it and really throwing it over the middle of the field. That's an area where the Rams typically will look to expose teams anyway, and an area where the Niners, as great as they played today, whole different animal Thursday night.
Well, everybody should be aware, first time the Niners played in L.A., remember, Larry, you kind of called it. They looked pretty bad first couple of weeks, and you said, man, I think this is a kind of a trap game, or this could be a dangerous one with the speed. They didn't even see Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua in that game. Nacua today had like 160 yards receiving on 11 catches or something. Cooper Kupp's been fantastic as really like the number 2 now. Puka Nacua is the number 1 guy. Kyron Williams found the end zone. So they've got their weapons back, and they're playing much better, though. They did give up 42 points today.
Yeah. They do have a lot of speed, though. Demarcus Robinson, Atwell, and Cooper. Now they got Cup back, as you said, and Puka. So this will be a huge challenge. These divisional games are always challenges. I mean, and it's not just the Niners. You look around the league, all these divisional games are always tight.
Adam Copeland, Super Bowl champ, Dennis Brown, John Dickinson, and Larry Krueger with you following a Niner 38-13 win over the Bears. Probably best win, most complete win of the season. Certainly the best since going back to opening night. And I would even say better than that. And that, they beat the Jets, and the Jets were, I think, people anticipating they were going to be AFC contenders. I was never really buying that, but they beat up on the Jets. They did have 6 field goal attempts in that game. Didn't have to do that here. He scored 5 touchdowns and went 5 of 6 in the red zone. Real quick on the YouTube chat, I see our guy Pat H checks in and says, I'm pretty surprised JD didn't leave and get in his car in the fourth quarter and drive up to make it to the Dubs game. That's because he watched this one. He's watching the Dubs right now,
I got it
on his
iPad,
tablet.
yeah.
And you can catch John Dickinson on Dubs OT, the hardest working dude in the building, dude. He'll be on Dubs OT right here on the Sports Leader on the stream on YouTube following our sign off here from 49er Postgame. Larry, have a great night, man. We'll check out the Krug Show and Niner Nightly this week.
Good to see you guys. Have a great rest of your Sunday. Go Niners. Great win. And we'll see you tomorrow.
38-13 Niners over the Bears. We'll get you the post-game interview with George Kittle, who talked at the podium about this team meeting the Niners had last night, where a couple of the veterans and the leaders stood up and said, hey, we got to flip things around here. It's time to change some stuff. We'll hear from George Kittle on this win and what changed after that team meeting last night for the Niners. That's next on the Sports Leader.
It was good. I mean, we caught him in a zone dog, which helps because they were matching all the guys down the field, so there's only kind of one guy looking at him. Got scarred a lot back in the day calling that because, especially people like KJ Wright, they would just sit and stare at Kittle every time he blocked. So as soon as he'd catch it, people would drill him. So sometimes it's hard to get screens to guys who are really good at it. That was a good play to open it up. Got it versus the right look, and when you can get George the ball versus the right look, I think everyone sees how explosive he is, and we just give him some crap for getting tackled inside the 5 twice, but he was unbelievable today.
Could have used both those touchdowns for my fantasy postseason hopes, but I think I'm going to be okay. George Kittle, a huge day, over 150 yards receiving. Didn't find the end zone today, but was the leader in yardage. It was Juwan Jennings who found the end zone for 2 touchdown grabs, and of course, Ike Garendo got in for 2 on the ground as well. So did Pat Taylor, second career rushing touchdown, first since his rookie year a couple of years ago when he was in Green Bay. Let's get you the post-game interview sponsored by the Handler Union Square Hotel, San Francisco's oldest family-owned hotel. And here he is, George Kittle, 152 yards through the air today, and 100 of them came in the first half. He was over 100 yards in the first half as part of 8 explosive plays for the Niners. Here is George Kittle.
Just explosive after explosive for Kid Dynamite. George Kittle joins us from the 49er locker room after a 6-catch, 151-yard day. George, Greg Papa, Tim Ryan. He had 4 explosives in the pass game. Let's go through a few of them, starting with that tight end screen, that middle screen on the 33-yarder, the first time you caught the ball. Clever play there.
It was. You know what? We just installed that. We had it in last week against Buffalo, but, weather permitting, it was kind of tough. And so the fact that we got it called and it worked that well, I'm really excited about it because I had 2 catches on screens today and they were both explosive. So I absolutely love that.
You were targeted 6 times, 6 catches, way over 100 yards. George, the play calling was great. The execution was better. Man, it was nice to see Brock find that rhythm.
You know what, Tim? I think you're 100% right there. I was sitting there right next to Shane at the end of the game, and I was just saying, I thought Kyle called a hell of a game.
Yep.
I thought he really played to our strengths with all of the run plays, ton of play actions off of there. But then, I'm thinking about it, too, just how you said it was. I think we just executed really well today. Besides, me and McKivitz having a false start, which we got to be, don't do that anymore. Gosh darn it. But besides that, I thought we executed really, really well as an offense. Guys ran really crisp routes. Juwan Jennings, Debo took advantage of plays that he had opportunities on. I just thought the boys are out there cooking. I thought our offensive line played really well today, and I thought guys were blocking. So you could definitely feel the energy on the sideline. That was really fun to feel.
Absolutely, and I thought certainly in the first half, the complimentary football by the defense, they forced more punts than they allowed in yards. 5 punts in the first half. They only allowed 4 yards of offense against Caleb Williams. I want to take you to the third drive, and it was 7-0, and you had the big 7 route, the corner route that went for 32 yards. Then there was a good run, and then I loved the play call when they walked that 5th guy up to the line. Brock canned it, got in a shotgun, and threw that big play to Isaac Garendo with the sun in his face and caught it at the 2-yard line.
That was a hell of a job by both Kyle. We were scheming that up. They did a lot of 5 down stuff, and when they were in that look, there's just opportunity for us. And so that was a great game plan by the coaches and great execution by Brock and Isaac on that one. You know what he said about punting too? My guy Torrey Taylor's on there, the Bears. He's an Iowa guy, excellent punter. He had some booming ones out there. And pregame, I told him, I was like, hey man, I hope you have the best day of your career today. I hope you have 15 punts. I hope they're all 60 yards. I really hope that for you. And he kind of listened to me. So respect to him. And he had a hell of a day.
Talk about this team with it's been a rough year, obviously, with the injuries and the tragedies and just the way this season has kind of flowed out. You have had a great season, obviously, numbers-wise, and we know Kittle, when available, is going to show up and be the beast that he is. But I thought today was an opportunity to really look and see which dogs want to keep biting with the adversity, and I was impressed across the board with the 49ers today.
I appreciate that, Tim. All we kind of said this week was like, you know what, man? Screw the whole season, everything that's happened, whatever your stats are, if you had a missed tackle, if you had a drop catch, if you had a missed block, whatever it was, forget about all that stuff. All we have left in front of us is this one game. This is our game. We have to win this game. Focus on this. Put all your energy and your effort into this. Don't listen to any outside noise. Don't go on Twitter. Don't go on, ignore everything. Just focus on this one game. Give me your best, and we'll play with that. And I think that's what the guys did today. You saw guys flying around, hitting. I thought our D line played amazing.
Yep.
Having Jordan Elliott back out there is incredibly helpful. He's a hell of a D lineman. Leonard Floyd out there. Malik. The boys were cooking, and I just loved seeing an Eater there at the end too. That was awesome.
Yeah, and Devondre Campbell flying around against the familiar opponent. I thought he played his best game today. Brock basically bulldog steer wrestled by the head and ripped and bent over backwards. Thank God, and I hope that he's okay, and it looks like he will be. Just missed a play, but that got you guys charged up.
You know what? Well, I hate seeing your quarterback get hit and kind of like, I don't know. I haven't seen it. I was down the field, so I have no idea what really happened.
No, it was a steer wrestling special.
Okay, so whether it was dirty or not, whatever it is, but whenever your quarterback gets hit a little bit extra at the end, it gets the O-line really, really fired up, and that's fantastic for us because the O-line was just dialed in after that, and that was in the midst of our 14-play drive with 12 run plays on it. So Brock, hopefully he's going to be fine. I think he's fine. He's in the locker room dapping everybody up. But that gets the people going. And, shout out to Brock for only missing a play and coming back in. Hell of a handoff by Brandon Allen on his one snap.
Yeah, it was Darrell Taylor, the former Seahawk, that had the hit to his head and pulled him down. I know you're in the midst of it, but your numbers this year individually as a season are really strong. But historically, you had a game earlier this year, George, and I know you're aware, where you passed Roger Craig and Dwight Clark in the same game. You have 6 catches today, and you now have 516 receptions. The only 2 Niners to catch more footballs than you are JR and T.O. Have you looked at your numbers, maybe not just this year, but where you are as far as 49er history? You're number 3 all time.
You know what, Papa? My mom sends me that stuff. She's sure to send me that stuff, so she knows I'm aware of it. I was actually told I got I'm one of 3 tight ends.
Yes.
One of 3 tight ends to have 7,500. That's pretty special. I know
Gates and
Kelsey.
Yeah, I think I did it second fastest. So that's pretty sick. And my favorite thing is just the fact that I was able to do that for the Niners my entire career here. It's been a blessing to play for the 49ers and have that logo on the side of my helmet because I love playing here and I love the fans here.
And the faithful loves you, big dog. You're the best tight end in franchise history. It's not even close, and nobody even. I factor in all the blocking when you're just trashing the edge and putting people on their back. And you know what? You got a lot of gas left in the tank.
Hey, dude, we just rounded the first corner, baby. We're rolling.
You had to play the LA Rams on Thursday night, George. Congratulations.
Is that game still going?
They just left. The Rams win it, 44-42. They outlasted Buffalo. So
it's over?
Rams won.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Good for them.
They're 7-6. You're 6-7. So you know what happens when you win on Thursday. You guys are both 7-7, right?
You need it. Who won between the Cardinals and Seahawks?
Unfortunately, Seattle won.
That's fine. They have a hard schedule.
They're 8-5,
That's right.
and Arizona drops to 6-7.
Good call. You know your ball.
I do know my ball. I know the NFC West.
You are keeping track.
Let's go win, boys.
Thank you, Kittle.
See ya.
There you go. There's George Kittle talking to Pop and Tim Ryan after the game. That's exactly what we were just talking about. It's actually not the worst thing in my mind that Seattle won that game today. Arizona, if they were to build a lead here in the West, or if they were to get back to the top of the division and own some of these tie breaks, that would be, I think, frustrating for the Niners. It's already frustrating, but a tougher road and a taller mountain to climb, being they have a much easier schedule. And what George Kittle just said, they're absolutely true. Seattle's got to go and play Green Bay next week. It is at home in Seattle. They get Green Bay the following week. They get Minnesota in Seattle, and then they play their last 2 games on the road, including the final game of the season in Los Angeles against the Rams. Can you imagine if the NFC West is up for grabs, really for 2 or 3 teams in that final week of the season, where Seattle's playing against the Rams in L.A. and the Niners are playing Arizona in Arizona? We got more to come. 38-13 the final. Niners hammer the Chicago Bears. They move to 6-7, and there's still life in the hope for a postseason push. We got more to come here from Levi Stadium. Adam Copeland, Dennis Brown, John Dickinson, only here on the Sports Leader.
3rd down and 4. Purdy out of the shotgun, looks right, throws, caught. Jawan Jennings diving into the end zone. Touchdown! San Francisco!
Yeah, guess what? It was 3rd down, and Jawan Jennings shows up.
That was Juwan Jennings, 90 yards receiving today. By the way, the accuracy of Brock Purdy, 20 of 25, 325. Juwan Jennings in the game, 8 targets, 7 catches, 90 yards. It was all him and George Kittle today through the air, and a couple of big ones for Mike Garendo, too, who had 50 yards receiving in this one. Could very well make Juwan Jennings the player of the game, which is sponsored by Bigelow Tea. Grab a mug and tea proudly. That's Bigelow Tea. Dennis, who's your player of the game today?
We talked about difference makers, and I went with Garendo just because he's a rookie. I mean, and the pressure you have and the expectation. I mean, you're 3rd in the depth chart, and you've been on the sidelines the entire season. You get in every once in a while, and you get a couple carries, but now you have, you worked with the ones the entire week, and you start a football game, and you go out and you play at a high level as a rookie. I think that means a lot. I mean, I know he gets hurt today. I don't know what happens moving forward against the Rams, but he's my guy today because he's a rookie. He goes out there and he takes it on. The lights aren't too big, the stage is not too big. He goes out and he does what he's supposed to do.
I'm going to go with Yetur Gross-Matos on the defensive side. 3 sacks. 3 sacks for
Huge day for him.
Huge day for him. Leonard Floyd was making an impact out there as well. Again, you can't go wrong with Kittle or Jennings or even Brock Purdy if you wanted to. But I'm going to go on the other side of the ball because the 49ers really took advantage of an area where the Bears have been weak. And Yetur Gross-Matos is somebody we haven't seen enough from due to injury, and today kind of made me wonder a little bit of what could have been had he been more available this season opposite of Nick Bosa.
That's kind of what we talked about for the entirety of the time he was out. And then I'll go with one more defensive player, Leonard Floyd. He had 2 sacks on the day. Malik Collins got in there as well, but Leonard Floyd with 2 sacks in the game. And we were wondering, where does the pressure come from without Nick Bosa? Because we haven't seen it at all. I mean, there was none against Geno Smith on that final drive. There was none against the Packers and none really against the Bills last week. Josh Allen tough to bring down anyway, but today 7 sacks, and you got multiple. There you go, 3 from Yetur Gross-Matos and 2 more from Leonard Floyd, who, by the way, I don't think we'd heard the Leonard Floyd nickname, had we, until today, Tim? The Flow Rider. Leonard Floyd, the Flow Rider, with a sack. That's going to get some legs, I think, this week on KNBR. Adam Copeland, Super Bowl champ Dennis Brown, and John Dickinson with you. Niners 38-13 over the Chicago Bears. And George Kittle, you heard him earlier asking, what was the score of the Rams game? What was the score of the Seahawks game? Niners still have a path to the postseason, and the Seahawks have a more difficult schedule. Rams come here, but you got to beat the Rams. Thursday, same thing. That would just basically bounce you out of this thing if you lose to the Rams and fall to 6-8. But you can get back to 500, 7-7 with a win over the Rams this week. We got more to come here from Levi Stadium, where the Niners have beaten the Chicago Bears 38-13. Adam Copeland, Dennis Brown, John Dickinson. We'll get to the drive of the game next on the Sports Leader.
Same formation. Debo goes in motion left. A slot right. Jennings inside of Pearson. Now Debo in return motion goes right. Brackett a play action. Brackett a throw out left. Wide open. Juwan Jennings. Touchdown. San Francisco.
Can you say first and Juwan?
There you go, Juwan Jennings. That was the opening drive touchdown grab there by Juwan Jennings. How many opening drive touchdowns the 49ers scored this year? Doesn't feel like, I mean, that was something that was their calling card last year. They opened, it seemed like every game. They were getting what they wanted, long drives, sustained drives, putting together long or big plays, explosive plays, and then scoring to go up early in the game or at least tie it early. And it's something we have not seen a lot of this year. Anyway, Niners win 38-13 over the Bears today. We'll make that the drive of the game, sponsored by El Cerrito Honda. More than just a car dealership, we're family. It was great to see them feel like they were getting whatever they wanted. I mean, that felt like the 49er offense we'd become accustomed to coming into this season. Like they were getting whatever they wanted at any point in the drive. And they did it in spades in the first half. We talked about how accurate Brock Purdy was. I think he was 8 of 9 in the first quarter. But that opening drive that resulted in a touchdown, 5 plays, 70 yards, and they only took 2 minutes and 40 seconds off the clock. Game kind of flew by with how they moved it. But Brock was accurate on that one, and it resulted in a 7-yard touchdown grab by Juwan Jennings. What did you guys think of the play calling today? You heard George Kittle there on the interview that we played saying he thought Kyle called a great game. I would agree. JD, you said it felt like we were seeing some stuff we had, and the screen pass to Kittle was a great one. I want to point out on that play, both Deebo Samuel and Juwan Jennings came off the field. The 2 receivers on the field for that screen pass were Jacob Cowing and Conley were out there, and I was like, what a weird play. They must be running the ball. Nope, screen pass to George Kittle, and he went for, 39 yards or 33 yards up the sideline?
Yeah, I just look at that first series. I mean, a 23-yarder to Garendo, so they're throwing it to a running back that's not Christian McCaffrey, which is something we really haven't
We didn't see
seen
that. We made a lot of the jugs machine with J.P. Mason, never saw it.
And never saw it. And then the screen pass, and then it was play action. Play action pass to Deebo Samuel for 20 on the second series. Play action pass to Kittle for 32 on the third series, where they ended up scoring a touchdown to go up 14-0. Just a lot of play action passes, play action on 1st and goal from the 7 to score the first touchdown. It just seemed like a more creative, dynamic, balanced game plan today, Dennis.
Yeah, and don't forget about the 4th downs. I mean, it felt like, Kyle Shanahan was kind of, maybe he's got it. Well, I'm sure he has that
sent
urgency.
the field goal team out and then called timeout and said, no, we're going to go for it.
So, the urgency's there. I mean, he understands the situation, too. I mean, you got to win these games. You got to make a statement. And that first drive, it looked like the 49ers that, when you at the beginning of the season – before the season started and all the expectations, that's the offense you were looking for, minus Brandon Ayuk. It was easy. It was effective. Brock Purdy was thrown on time. And then there were these big gash plays, right? As they say, explosive plays. And that's something I think has been missing in this offense. So I don't know if it's the play calling or these guys just got on track. As far as the mindset, saying that we're going to go out there, no one's going to stop us. They're going to deny us getting into. And they did that the entire first half. And then, you come out in the second half and you have some downtime, but then you get right back on it.
By the way, I was asking last time the 49ers scored on their opening drive of a game like that. It was when they went up 14-0 against the Rams in week 3 in Los Angeles. They scored on their opening drive. They went up 14-0 in the first. They were at 14-7 at the half, and then, of course, lost that game after giving up 13 points in the fourth quarter to the Rams, but they go up 24-0 in this one before the Bears get going. And by the way, you pointed out that at halftime, the Bears had 4 total yards because of the net yards passing and everything. Like, Caleb was taking hits. He wasn't completing passes. Actually, he had completed, I think, 6 of his first 9, but they just weren't going for yardage, and he'd lost so much passing. At one point, Cam Inman, I think when they still had 2 yards in the first half, Cam Inman of the Mercury News tweeted out, the Bears have as many yards as they've had head coaches this season.
Wow.
Which I thought was a pretty good line from Cam Inman. But, Rams looked really good today. Stafford, 16 of 25, 221, and a touchdown. Kyron Williams had a big day, 24 for 89 yards. In 2 touchdowns. I was actually in that game against the Niners, a couple of weeks back, but they didn't have a big game today, putting up 44, in a 44-42 win over the Bills. That's your drive of the game. Juwan Jennings opening it up with a touchdown after the Niners get 8 explosive plays in the first half. We'll put a bow on this one when we come on back. We'll get you ready, and we'll be back Thursday at 1 o'clock for the Rams and the 49ers week 15 of the NFL season. 38-13. Niners beat the Bears. We'll put a bow on this next on the Sports Leader. '49ers pick up their 6th win of the season, and they do it in their best performance of the year against an inferior opponent. But it's nice to see a team that we thought was far more elite, at least on paper, coming into the season, beat a team that we knew was not as good coming in. And it sort of felt coming in like this was going to be a trend-up game for the Bears, potentially. And the Niners had not been trending in the right direction. Instead, 38-13, their largest offensive output of the season. They score 5 touchdowns. They go 5 of 6. In the red zone, Brock Purdy throws for 325, completes 80% of his passes. Jennings, 90 more yards. Kittle, 150. Garendo has 130-plus from scrimmage and finds the end zone twice. Patrick Taylor finds the end zone. So the Niners, a great performance today. And on the defensive side of the ball, 7 sacks of Caleb Williams, including taking a fumble away. That ended up really, I mean, it basically put the game away. I think it was going to be a tall order anyway for the Bears after having 4 yards in the first half to come back in the second. But Niners take it away, and they snuff out any sort of comeback attempt after leading 24-0 at the half. Adam Copeland, Super Bowl champ, Dennis Brown, John Dickinson signing off here from Levi Stadium. Again, Niners win this one 38-13. We'll be back with you at 1 o'clock on on Thursday for pregame for Thursday Night Football, Niners and the Rams, and then we'll be off for over a week until the Niners go to Miami, which, again, these next two, JD, you pointed out, winnable games. And if they win these next two and they're 8-7, then you kind of look up and take stock of where you are in the NFC West, and you get the Lions coming to town for a Monday night tilt in Week 17.
Yeah, that would feel like a huge game at that point. And who knows what the Lions are going to be playing for. Probably still the 1 seed with Philadelphia hot on their heels. And, nobody, given the way the 49ers had played the last 3 games, especially the games in Green Bay and Buffalo, would at this point give them a significant chance against Detroit. But you know what? You never know. This is the building block toward maybe this team is starting to become a little bit of a different team. We'll see if they can extend on a Thursday, if they can also do something in Miami. Maybe by the time we get to that game on December 30th, still over 3 weeks away, we might have a little different outlook on this team. Andre Greenlaw's back, and maybe Nick Bosa's healthy, and they just have a little bit more juice and firepower on both ends of the ball.
Yeah, you just got to figure out how to duplicate what you did today. You can play a totally different football team come Thursday, and a football team that's playing to get themselves in the playoffs.
They're both desperate in this one.
Yeah, so you got to duplicate it. You got to put some wins. You got to put 4 wins. What's left? Four games?
4 left.
You got to put 4. You got to put 4 games, but you got to focus on the game that's right in front of you, and it's going to be. It's important, but it's against an opponent that's not the same as a Chicago Bears team. I mean, you have to play your best football game, and you have to focus on that if you want to get into the postseason.
And the hilarity of this is if they do get in and they win the division, you would host a playoff game.
Yeah.
You'd host that for the opening weekend.
I think that scenario that led me to the 9-8, 9-8, 9-8 four-way tie in the NFC had the 49ers playing the Vikings, hosting the Vikings on Wild Card Weekend, which you'd feel like you got a shot, I think, in that game, although the Vikings have played great, and, man, Sam Darnold's had a hell of a year.
Long time I have to go to Minnesota because they don't win there. All right, we'll sign off here, and we'll send you over, by the way, to the Sunday Night Football game. Chiefs are leading 6-0 right now with about 4.5 to play in the first half over the Chargers. The Chargers not moving the ball really at all. Herbert's 7 of 14 right now for 74 yards. Make sure you keep it locked on KNBR all week long. Your home of 49er football for the last 20 seasons, and we'll be walking through this one for the next couple of days, and then pretty quickly turning our sights to the Rams on Thursday and talking about the potential playoff hopes that are still very much alive now for the Niners. Still need some help, but things are a little bit more clear in terms of exactly what it is they have to do after Seattle beat Arizona today and the Rams beat the Bills. We will throw you over to Sunday Night Football tomorrow, 6 a.m. Murph and Marcus, 10 to 2, Greg, and then Dirty Work with Derek Papa and myself from 2 to 6. Make sure you check out the KNBR YouTube channel tonight. After the Warrior game wraps up, you'll get John Dickinson, probably still here from Levi Stadium, getting you Dubs OT after they finish up against the Minnesota Timberwolves. We will see you guys on Thursday. Until then, the sports continue. Niners, 38-13 over the Bears, only here on the Sports Leader.